Hello everybody, RegiTime here, and we've got another 4 days worth of hands that went to over 50 big blinds to run from my latest Twitch streams. I've streamed 4 times since the last video, and these are all of the pots that have been significant. There's been plenty of just under 50 big blind pots we could have put in, but we've already got 33 hands to get through, so I think that's going to be plenty. We're going to try and whiz through them because quite a lot of them will just be like pretty standard coolers, I guess, but we're looking at them now with the benefit of hindsight, given that we've now got stats on players, and we're just going to talk about would I have done anything different had I known more about my opponent. Sometimes I'll have known things about the opponent without the stats because of the way I note them, but yeah, we'll whiz through them, and we'll only stop to really talk about the more interesting ones. So here we have a whale limping. I didn't know he was a whale. We've got only 17 hands on him. So obviously we know he's a fish because he's got less than 100 blinds and he's limping, but I wasn't aware that he was 71/12s worth of whale. So I isolate. We get 3-bet by a complete nit, who I do know is quite a tight player. Before the hand, and I'm aware that this guy plays pretty tight. I'm not sure if I would have called this 3-bet had this guy not come along. I'm going to guess I probably would have, but I can't be sure. But then when this guy comes along, we have an easy call on the button, and we flop trip aces, which is obviously pretty damn sweet. This dude here just min bets 30. We raise, he gets out of the way. We flop trips, good for us, and we win a drag a big pot. I mean, obviously he's got no business calling a whatever it was 14 blind 3-bet with ace-8 off, but he did, and we dragged the pot. There's going to be a lot of these like super standard hands and coolers, etc. I apologise for that. We're just looking at the biggest pots though, so we're going to see a lot of coolers and what have you. Total nit opens, real total. Look at this 12/6. Some kind of regular calls. We squeeze with the ace king. I think I'd like to see myself squeeze a little bit bigger. It's only 10x and there's already 2 in the pot, so maybe could have gone a touch bigger to 13 or 14 blinds maybe. Maybe that would be too big though. Anyways, nit folds. The regish type player calls. We flop top pair. Bet pretty small on the flop, like just over 1/3 pot. He calls. We check the turn. We bet, what's that, about 40% pot on the turn, and he raises. And I remember this hand now, and at this point I was just kind of thinking jacks full possibly, but does he flat jacks to a min raise pre? I didn't really think the 6 changed very much. I thought if it was ahead on the flop, still ahead on the turn. So I went ahead and just called, just in case he had any like random bluffs or what have you, or he was like playing a king queen. I didn't want to blow him off, something like that. We still had plenty of chips behind, and if he was bluffing, I wanted to make sure that I gave him opportunities to bluff the river. 10 of diamonds comes on the river, and now he goes all in. I think at this point, now I'm reviewing the hand again, we literally only beat bluffs, and with the diamond coming, I mean, that improves quite a lot of his turn bluffs, obviously. Obviously that flushes get there now. If he did have an ace queen, which seems unlikely that he will play it this way with us having the ace of diamonds, so he like, doesn't have ace queen of diamonds. He's got there against us. King 10's now beating us. I mean, I made the call pretty quick in play, and I think I made a mistake by making it so quickly. Would I make this play now? Would I call this river? I think it's close. I think it's close. I don't like playing results after the event, and given how in these games I don't really see check raise turn jam river as a bluff line, I think I maybe could have got away from this hand. I don't like getting away from it to have 3-bet pre of c-bet flop a barreled turn. I think on the turn getting it in is certainly more preferable, getting it in on the turn if I'm going to play for stacks, and getting it in on this river. But I had the ace of diamonds, so well, you know, he probably doesn't have like a high flush. You can't have like a king high flush. I mean, the highest flush you can have is like a queen high flush. Queen 10 diamonds he can't have now because of the 10 of diamonds. It's like, what's he got? Queen Jack of diamonds. Does Queen Jack of diamonds really raise the turn? So I wasn't really sure. I got a little bit confused. Called pretty quickly, and we ran into 6-5. I guess we just have to stack off there, but because of we have the ace of diamonds, the kings on there, the tens on there, so he's not going to have too many flushes. I wouldn't have thought. I was certainly expecting to have very much 6x. So at the time I was thinking probably Jack's full or we might win, and we didn't win because he had the 6-5. Never mind. A runny blooming nose. So we have the aces. We 3-bet versus the same player as just before. And this was after the first hand, and given that I saw him call a 3-bet out of position with 6 high, I'm willing to 3-bet him here obviously, and probably should have made it a little bit bigger actually. We haven't even made it 7 blinds, we made it 8.5 blinds, given that we know he's not that prone to fall into 3-bets. I think I probably should have made this maybe $2.70 to $3, something like that, which is a bit of an overbet. It's like 4 times his open, but if he has got like a penchant for playing suited connectors, then we need to try and exploit that by making him put as much money as possible in pre-flop. Anyway, he calls. If he's got the 6-5 again, we're fucked. He checks. I bet just under half pot. He calls. Turn Jack. He checks. Again, I bet around 45% pot, I guess. He calls again. River Queen. He checks. I go for a very small bet. Why we chose this sizing? Not sure I like this size. I think we could have gone bigger here. I guess I'm trying to induce some kind of raise from him. I think at the time would almost certainly have been, I don't think he's got much he can call with. We need to bet small to get the call, and sometimes by betting this small, some aggressive players can attack it and go with a raise. So that would almost certainly be my thinking here. And we do get the raise. And obviously we call. I mean, we lose to what, Jack Queen, Jacks, Queens, and any sets he's got. So we lose to some hands, but when we bet that small, we certainly can't fall to a small raise. And he just had the pair and straight draw that he turned into a bluff. So I think our river sizing here was actually quite cute. I mean, against a fish here, against a total fish, I wouldn't bet this size. It's way too small. But against somebody who I think might be a little bit on the aggressive side, possibly, and who also can have lots of kind of smallish cards that might just call. He's got pocket sevens here or ace 4, something like that. He probably will just pay off this bet when we bet 1/5 pot, whatever it is, 1/4 pot. So we've got the raise, and we've got a nice bit of value there on the river. 6-4 suited, not a typical hand you'll see me playing. I've raised it. We've been 3-bet by someone at the time. I thought he was more aggressive than he was. He seemed to be in quite a few pots. He was raising quite a few hands, and I didn't know him. He was unknown. Now I'm aware of him. Had I known he was like an 18-11, I probably wouldn't. I would have opened the hand for sure to try and steal this blind, but I probably wouldn't have called this 3-bet, even though it's only 4.5 blinds more. I'm not that into calling 3-bets out of position, so I probably wouldn't have played the hand, but I thought he was a bit more aggressive than he was, so I felt like I needed to defend, so I did. We flop an open-ender on a monotone flop. I guess we need to call once. I mean, it's hard to flop a flush, right? And we do have an open-ender. Do we call? We get nothing on the turn. We brick out. He bets smallish again. And we're not really getting such good odds at this situation, but at the same time, if we do make our straight, I guess we can try and get some value on the river, because again, it's hard to flop flushes. Yeah, if he's got a flush, it's probably going to be king high flush, queen high flush, queen jack clubs, king jack clubs, queen 10, king 10. So there's not that many flushes he can have. He can still have a lot of that top pair that might pay off rivers. I'm not sure I love this call though, to be fair. We're not really getting the right odds to call, are we? So I'm not sure I love this call. Aha, I don't call, I raise. Right, so why have I done this then? I mean, I don't expect he's going to fold an ace very much. I mean, maybe he does. If he's got ace, queen, no club here, maybe he folds it. We can have 3s, 5s, 9s for sure. We can have more sets than he does, or at least as many sets. Maybe he has 9s and aces, we have 5s and 3s. Don't think I love it though. He goes all in. And we have to fold. Yeah, I'm not in love with my play there. As I said, a lot of these hands I don't remember them. I certainly don't remember this one. I guess if my read is that he's more aggressive than he is, I'm trying to get him off like an ace-10, ace-jack type hand there, that maybe he's double barreling twice for protection, and then has to fold. If he has got like an ace-jack offsuit, no club, ace-10 offsuit, no club, I guess we can make him fold. If he's just like got, I don't know, something like king-10 with a club or something, I don't know. But I don't like it. That's spew from me, and we got duly punished. 2 kings. Everyone wants to come in the pot. I make a huge squeeze, and I like the sizing that I've made, gone straight up to 20. There's that much money in the pot when he gets to us. It's only $4.05 in the pot. I think squeezing here to like 15 blinds would be a little bit too small. So I like my sizing up to 20 blinds, making it like a small 4-bet size. You get a call from this Johnny Rocks nitty type player again, and then we get the fold. And it's not the most ideal of flops because he's going to have a lot of like medium type pairs in his hand. I remember saying this at the time. He's going to have a lot of pocket like 7s, 8s, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, probably jacks, maybe queens too, but seems unlikely. Probably squeezes queens pre. Anyway, I made a pretty biggish c-bet because the pot's already quite big. I'm not going to be c-bet bluffing this board very often. My only bluffs are going to contain 2 spades, like ace king spades, ace queen spades. So I don't really want to like give too many cheap cards on this board. Given that when we do c-bet here, we're going to be like quite polarized. So I don't mind the sizing. He calls. Turn to 6, which I think is probably a really good card. I just had to jam on it. If he does have a hand like jacks or queens or something, he's never folding. If he's got ace-10, he's probably going to call by this point. And he does call 9 of spades on the river, which is obviously a pretty shitty card for us, but fortunately he had the jacks. Don't hate his play. I think the problem from his perspective is that I just don't have very many bluffs here, and the bluffs that I do have are still going to have like 2 overs and a flush draw against him at least. So yeah, I don't hate his play, but I don't love it either. I think he should probably think about squeezing pre when it's gone raise, call. But either way, if he squeezes pre, we just 4-bet. Maybe he gets away then though. If he squeezes pre, we 4-bet. Maybe he folds his jacks pre, but yeah, a nice hand for us. 2 7s UTG. We bet we get 3-bet by a nit. Another player comes along, and another player comes along. I'm going to think why I'm in this hand, because normally I would just fold this hand to a 3-bet, but now everyone's come along. It's obvious. I bet we can't guess which number's coming on the flop. I'd be very surprised if a 7 does not hit the flop here. It doesn't. Wow. I am very surprised. Proof that I don't remember the hands that I've played. So we check, it checks through. Aha, we turn the 7. We now lead out. Ah, that's an interesting bet size from me. I would have typed that in. But I think it's interesting that we bet 777 with a set of 7s with a 7 on board. So yeah, that'll just be a product of me. Because when I play, I convert my chips to big blinds, so I don't type dollar amounts in. But yeah, pretty interesting that all the 7s come up. Somebody might think they're telling me now that I bet like all the 7s when I got a 7, when it just isn't true. And the river is a club. I guess he doesn't have too many flushes, given that he didn't c-bet the flop. When a nit 3-bets as pre-flop, if he does have a flush, it's going to be literally like king, queen of clubs here. I don't think this is a dude to be 3-betting like queen, jack of clubs pre and stuff like that, so I think we have a pretty safe jam. It's just disappointing that the club comes, because sometimes now we lose value from ace king, ace queen that decide to pot control. Maybe he's got like an ace-10 suited that can pay us off though. So I decided to... Wow, why have I not just jammed there? Looking back at his hand now, I think it's either a bet small to make sure he doesn't fold an ace. It's like bet something like $8, $9, something like that, just to try and like make sure he calls with an ace queen, or jam. I don't like my sizing here. I think we should have gone like really small or really big. Anyway, he folds. Yeah, I don't like my sizing there. I think we need to go either all in to like totally polarize ourselves in a spot where we don't have the flush, or bet small and make sure he calls with like his ace queens and things. Disappointed with my size there. Should definitely have gone small or big. And I think in hindsight I prefer small, given that the flush has got his check back the flop. Just called the turn. Yeah, I mean, I guess he probably had a hand like 2 kings there or 2 queens or something, given how he's played the hand. King 9 suited. Oh, yes, I remember this hand very well. It was very near towards the end of the session. It had been a pretty moderate session. I think we were down just a little bit. It's one of those sessions where nothing much happened for us. And I had a read that this guy was pretty spewy. I mean, these stats don't do him justice. He was playing way more spewy than this. It felt like he wasn't. I think this is just like the session stat, and I've had some notes on him before it that he was like quite a bad aggressive player. So we 3-bet, he 4-bet us, and I was in no mood to fold to this guy. Because genuinely his stats don't do him justice. He's not like crazy, but he's certainly like more loose aggressive than 28-19 suggests. And I was in no mood for folding to this particular person. Against most players, if this guy or if any other player at this table had taken the 4-bet line, blind versus blind, there's not a chance I would have called. But against this dude, I thought, no, we need to play the king 9 in position versus his 4-bet versus like what's that, 22.5 bigs. So I elected to call. We flopped the second pair, and he did that. He literally snap jammed. It was a turbo jam. And I mean, I just don't think many players do this with a hand that has king 9 beat at this point. If they've got like aces, kings, queens, jacks, they're probably going to make a smaller size. If they flopped a set, then they're definitely not going to use this size. So didn't take me too long, and I just thought we just need to call here. It's a 4-bet pot. We've got a second pair. We've got some backdoors, and they were up against like a very, in my opinion, bad aggressive player. So I made the call, and he just had ace-3 offsuit. So that was more a victory for reads against our opponent. And I think this shows the benefit of a lot of the work I'm doing between sessions, which is going into Hold'em Manager and making sure we're tagging players and getting good reads on them, seeing what the stats are, try to leave notes on them that reflect their stats. So, I mean, because against many players, there's not a chance, I mean, you guys know how fucking nitty I am, there's not a chance that I would call a 4-bet with king 9 suited and then just call like a 3x pot size jam or whatever it was with just second pair. This is completely unusual, totally unusual for me. It's not my thing, but it's very, very player dependent. I was really quite pleased with the outcome, and it's fair reward for doing the work outside of the sessions that I think a lot of guys probably aren't doing. With the jacks, we open, we get squeezed by someone who I didn't know. I mean, I had no idea about this guy whatsoever. So against an unknown with less than, we're like starting the pot with like, what, 60 blinds, something like that. I think I'd like to see myself just go with a 4-bet versus this guy and this sizing. Obviously I don't know his 80-60, but against somebody who has less than 100 blinds, I guess if he's got jacks beat, then we're just going to pay him off here. So I'd like to see us 4-bet, and we do, which is okay. I think like sizing's fine. It's like 3x's 3-bet. He jams. Other dude comes along, and at this point we have like a trivial call with jacks. I mean, it's not even close. We call it off. And I mean, I think his play's fine with ace king. I have no fucking clue what money Dyson's doing with the ace 5, but yeah, that was a nice pot to take down. Aces. This is more of a my type of hand. I remember this one really well. This well, no, it's not super interesting, but I elected to just call this pre-flop open here because I don't know this guy, but this is Paul. He's a regular friend of the stream. I've known him. I've done a session with him in Skype once. We chat from time to time. He's in the Facebook group, and he's a pretty aggressive player. So I think there's a reasonable chance he can squeeze. And this dude as well, 21-18, 9.4, is very aggressive pre-flop. Not too aggressive post-flop, but very aggressive pre-flop. And I kind of thought maybe one of these guys, maybe even this dude. I didn't know him very well at all. Still don't really know him very well. But I thought there's a reasonable chance we might get squeezed here if we just flat. So I decided to go for the slow play pre, try and induce the squeeze, and then obviously put a tasty little back raise in. Didn't work out that way. None of the guys I thought might squeeze did squeeze, and we go to a flop 3 ways, but fortunately flopped the nuts. And this dude, who isn't very aggressive post flop, just decides to lead out. We get the call there, and And I think raising's appropriate here. There's some draws people can call with. When somebody donks out in this spot, usually, especially when we've got the three aces, they're going to have either like an underset or a pretty strong like draw, like I don't know, king, queen of clubs, jack, queen of clubs, like flush draws, gut shots, things like that. When he calls, he can certainly have some sets and draws. So I don't think it's a time for slow play, not on this board texture. There's all kinds of like flush and straight draws out there. So I put in like a pretty chunky raise, but we are deep, so I think when we're deep, we need to make things a lot bigger. If we just make this to like $6 or something, you're giving people fucking fantastic implied odds. And I kind of didn't mind. I don't want people to fold here, but I'm quite happy to give someone the chance to like like 3-bet or something and try and play for as much of the money now as we can. Because we are super deep, we need to start building a big pot. And if we just get 2 folds, well, so be it. We just get 2 folds. Anyways, this guy decides to go with a massive fucking 3-bet, which is just fine by us with the nuts. I just went all in because at this point he's not folding, he's got something he's going with. So we put him in for $29 more. He calls. And we had like the classic cooler, the set up a set situation. We dragged down a 400 big blind plot, which was pretty fucking sweet, not gonna lie. Enjoyed it. 9-8 suited, we call and open from, again, someone who's relatively unknown. Not sure if this is before or after the ace-5 hand, but either way, I wasn't aware it was the same guy at the time. We flop the nuts, what a surprise. Someone leads out. We just put a raise in, and on this board we've got the nuts, we've got a fishy player leading out. There's going to be all kinds of hands that can continue with it here. Pocket 8s, pocket 4s, I don't know, maybe pocket 9s, 10s, etc. There's just shit tons of hands. Let's just build the pot up against the fish. Another player just decides to come in. He goes all in, we go all in, he goes all in. So we're getting all the money in with the nuts, and we held against 2 flush draws, which is pretty sweet. We overlimp against a very, very loose passive player. Guess we could have isolated, but I think the thing is, this guy's just not folding pre. Then we're left with just like 10-9 offsuit post flop. I've been doing quite a lot of overlimping, and it's been working out really well. To be fair, I think it's worked out tremendously well. I think people sometimes they get hands like this pre-flop and like, oh, I don't really want to isolate with 10-9 offsuit, so they just end up folding it, and you don't want to be folding these hands. You want to be playing them on the button. Either isolating or overlimping, I think, is equally fine. I elect to overlimp. We flop a gutter ball. We turn the nuts, and we make a pot size bet because obviously there's tons and tons and tons, and we get called by, and the pot's pretty small. We get check min raised. What do I like to see myself do here? I think I'd like to see myself raised again. We want to try and get as much money in the pot as possible so we can like get all the money by the river. I wouldn't hate it if I just flatted here, but I think raising to something like $10 would be appropriate. I'll make it $10 on 1 cent. He goes all in, we call, and he was drawing dead with the low straight. And this is why I like just like low overlimping pre sometimes, because maybe he just folds 6-4 off pre. I don't know, maybe I'm playing results there, but I've been doing not tons of overlimping, but I've been overlimping with like speculative hands in late position. If he's like limped under the gun, I wouldn't limp this middle position, but when he's limp cut off and we're on button, I mean, I've been doing a lot of like late position overlimping, and I think it's working out really well. Don't know anything about this player, didn't know anything about him at the time of the hand. We've got what we've got now is 53-30 with a small sample. And 3-bet with the king queen off. I've obviously identified as a fish because of his stack size. He calls. We flop the nuts again. What a fucking surprise. He leads into us. I think just calling here is the best play. Turn pairs a jack, which isn't ideal. He bets into us for $5. Again, I think I like just calling, but I wouldn't be surprised if I raised, but I think I like just calling. I do just call. River's a break. He checks. I think we just have an easy shove. And he calls, and kind of unfortunate turn for him, I guess, in terms of like improves his equity, but yeah, I don't think I like his play too much. I guess I don't hate it either. Yeah, whatever. What it is, isn't it? We flop a straight against a fish, we get paid. Defend the Jack 9 suited to the small open. Why are we let out here? This must just be like a lack of concentration. Maybe I thought it's a limped pot. I don't know, because this isn't what I would normally do. This is clearly a mistake from me. This wouldn't be something I've chosen to do, like strategically, let's donk into the pre-flop razor with like top pair and some backdoors. Clearly a mistake from me, because this is not what I do usually. Anyway, he calls. I must just have thought I had the initiative pre-flop. Maybe I've thought I've been under the gunner. Maybe I've not realised I'm in the big blind, and maybe I've thought of like opened and flop top pair, because this is just not what I do normally. Anyway, we river trips. And then I check. What fucking hell, this hand's bonkers. I mean, I guess I've checked here to allow him to like bluff any misdraws he might have, to like maybe value better worse hand. This hand's a complete clusterfuck though. I shouldn't have led out. Once I've led out, I guess we need to continue betting the turn, I guess, but yeah, hand's fucked. He does bet though, we stick the raise in, he calls, and we sucked out grossly on him. So we completely fucked that hand up in many, many ways, but fortunately this came from a session where we were running like the fucking Jesus. Or running, well, Jesus didn't run, I don't think, he just got nailed to stuff, didn't he? Where we were running really, really well. And yeah, but that hand's a complete clusterfuck. Do not repeat anything that I've done in that hand. I guess I don't mind the river check raise to give him a chance to value bet worse, but it's silly in these games because I'm constantly banging on about how people don't thin value bet and how people don't bluff very often, and then I'm taking like this line. Yeah, hand's fucked. The hand's fucked, the job's fucked. That is a clusterfuck of a hand, but we won it, so I guess we'll be grateful for that. 2 kings. We put in a pretty large squeeze over 2 limpers. What's that to? Like 7 and a bit blinds, something like that, is it? Fold. Limper 1 calls. And this guy, friend of the stream, folds, Joe. We flop the overpair. We bet. Him in raises. We call. Guess we're probably against. Had I known at the time this guy was a 64-1, we would just have 3-bet the flop and gone with it. Not against a regular, maybe. We'd maybe call and let him keep some bluffs in. But against a fish, I would just have that fucking 3-bet and got it in. Turn 7, we check. He bets. Now we should slam the door on him, I guess. No, we just call again. River Queen. Ugh. We're in a shitty situation now. We check. He checks back, so obviously we're going to win now. Yeah, but I think with the hindsight of stats, had I known he was 64-1, I would just have 3-bet the flop, and would that have made me money or not? No, it probably wouldn't have. So this guy's limp called 7x with 10-4 off suit. He's min raised the flop with second pair. He's bet the turn. So I guess our line's got us paid the absolute maximum. But had I known he was a 64-1, I would have taken a different line. So this is one of the situations where a lack of knowledge of our opponents helped us. There will be some hands later on where a lack of knowledge probably hurts us. But this is like the positive side of that, I guess, because I've taken a line that's allowed him to continue bluffing against a 64-1 who probably isn't bluffing very often. And he's going to be value raising more from the flop with who knows what Queen X. So yeah, it's a spot where our lack of knowledge against our opponents probably allowed us to win the maximum. 2 aces. We get 3-bet by. Do you know this player? No idea. I had no knowledge of this player at the time. We put the 4-bet in. He calls. Pretty damn sweet flop for aces. And he just open shoves flop. Beautiful. So this guy's called a 4-bet out of position with 6-4 and then open jam second pair on the flop. And sometimes people say poker's dead. We've got a player whose name is very apt, Donk. I was at the time. I'm more aware of this guy now. We've got more than 69 hands on him again. These are just session stats. Not sure if we can change that. I'll have a look for the next video. But anyway, this guy is Donk by name, Donk by nature. He's a pretty bad aggressive player. We call with the queens. He calls. We flop the underpair. No, I guess we can't fold to this guy just yet, although we are pretty fucking deep. So we just call. Turn 4. He bets again, but he bets much smaller this time. Again, against this guy, I just don't think we can fold. So I call again. And we river what is probably going to be the nuts. He checks. And that's just a matter of sizing, isn't it? What size do we bet? I hope I bet. I'd be fucking gutted if I don't bet. I think I'd like to see myself go reasonably big here against a fishy guy. I wouldn't want to see myself go much less than like 3/4 pot. I mean, we do have the Queen of Diamonds, which like reduces some of the flush draws he could have been betting. I think maybe he's just got like a King X that he's pot controlling with a lot of the time, maybe a 10X. Who knows? But I think we should go pretty big. I'd like to see myself go around the 14 mark. 11, I think that's too small. He calls. And I don't remember this hand at all. Even I thought I would have remembered a hand where somebody like bets twice and calls it off with 3s. And we're having a vague memory of commenting on it now, but I didn't remember the hand. But yeah, we live in interesting times. Aces again. Ah yes, this guy seems to limp a lot of small blinds. He's got clear. I think he's a reasonable player. I'm not going to say he's good, but I think he's a reasonable player. Probably one of the better players in the pool. But that's not to say that I think he's like really good or anything. I just think he's one of the better players in the pool. Seems to be one of the more reasonable players. And he'd limped about maybe 5 minutes earlier. He limped, I'd raised with whatever, and he folded. So he limped again. I made the same raise. And this time he 3-bet me. And I kind of thought maybe he's just trying to trap me here. Maybe he's limping strong. Thinking I'm always isolating versus limps, which I'm absolutely not doing. He probably realises now I'm not doing that. I just had 2 situations, 2 hands in a row in this spot where I could raise him. But I kind of thought maybe he's trapping. So I put like a really like pretty smallish 4-bet in. So if he is like got like a hand like jacks or queens or something, he can just jam. If he's got like some kind of like, weird bluff, I give him the opportunity to jam again still, because you know it doesn't look the most convincing 4-bet. It's like way less than what is that, like 27 bigs over a 14 big blind 3-bet. So I just not give him a chance to spew, give him a chance to just get it in as well. You know, try and get it in pre rather than call and negotiate post flop. And he did just jam and we snapped it off. And sadly he had 2 jacks. I don't hate his play at all. I think if he's got like a limp strategy and he's trying to balance it with some limp calls, limp folds and limp shoves, I don't hate it whatsoever, or limp raises. I don't hate it. He sucked out, big deal, it happens. I'm not going to blame him for his line. I think it's fine. I think against me it's probably less good because I'm not the guy that goes isolating a ton, but maybe he doesn't know that yet. He not goes isolating a ton, he's already isolated, you know what I mean? I'm not the guy who just like massively attacks limps. I know lots of players do. I'm not that person. Maybe he didn't know that about me. Anyways, unknown player opens. We 3-bet the kings. We get the cold call at the big blind against somebody. This guy was blue tagged, so I know he's like a complete whale. I didn't have any stats on him, but the blue tag means the guy's like one of the most moronic of all morons. So he cold calls. Club comes down this high. Jack had Jack 2-8. I mean, there's some draws there, whatever. But I mean, this guy's such a moron. If he's got any kind of piece of this, maybe if he's got the deuce, he's not going to stack off. But if he's got the jack, if he's got a flush draw, maybe even the 8 is stacking off. Put the raise in. He jams. I was delighted to call. The ace comes on the turn, which probably wasn't too pleasing. He just had the 8 deuce with the flop 2 pair, cold call in the 3-bet, and that's why players like him have the light blue tag. Aces again. We 3-bet versus kind of weird regulars. I mean, we've seen him before with different session stats where he was like much more loose aggressive. He was 27-13, which is more indicative of his like actual stats. Now I've got like several thousand hands on him, and he's a classic old-fashioned tag fish, like 25/11 low 3-bet type player. So when he raises under the gun, I'm hoping he's not going to have too much of a folding range. So we 3-bet the aces. He calls. C-bet. He calls. Bet the turn. He calls. And I hope we jam the river. We jam the river, and he folds. I mean, I guess we can think about checking there to try and induce some bluffs for his missed spades, but I just don't think he has many missed spades. I think he's more likely to just have like pocket pairs, like 8s, 9s. I guess he can have 7s and 6s if we can have them. So yeah, maybe the jammies are a bit thin in terms of like, right, what worse hands call here. I guess jacks, queens, he can have them that call. Then I guess he can have like maybe all the sets that are on board, but I doubt. No, he doesn't have 6s and 5s, I don't think. Well, he might have 6s because he might call the flop with 6s, but he doesn't have 5s. I don't know. Maybe the jam is a bit like, not thin. I mean, I think we have the best hand a lot of the time, but in terms of like versus the hands he can call with, maybe when we do get called there, we lose more than we win. I'm not sure, but we lose more often than we win. I mean, but yeah, I think jamming there is. I'm gonna want to go bet shove there with my ace, king, queen, queen, all the spade combos. So yeah, I don't hate it. I just think it's one of those spots that when we do get called, quite often it's a cooler than we've been like outflopped by a set or something. The 9s here, we open. Fishy player calls. Again, I didn't know anything about this dude. But we do flop the set, so we don't need to know much about people when we flop sets. We bet, he calls. I upsize on the turn. A value from king x and everything. Obviously we don't block top pairs. A good chance he can just have king queen or whatever, king jack, king 10. It's going to want to stack off. He min raises. I think we just jam here, don't we? He's only got $6 behind. Slow playing wouldn't make sense. And we fill up, and he had the ace king. That one was not particularly interesting. Oh, what a surprise, we flop a set, look. Against another player that I know very little about. He checks, we bet, he raises. I think just calling here is the right line. Yeah, we get fucked off if like a 5 or a 6 comes, but yeah, I think I prefer calling. Turn the boat, makes life easy. We bet really small just because I think a lot of the time it's check raise range, and then checks his turns because it's going to be bullshit he's giving up with. Like bullshit hands, who knows, like fucking ace jack and just like 2 random overcards or whatever. Just I think he's got a lot of air in his range basically, so bet small to give him a chance to check raise again, or maybe he just like calls with like a pocket 9s or something like that. River king, he decides to just go all in. We have this trivial call, of course, and he just had jack 9, which, I mean, I don't hate it. I think his flop check raise is nice, to be fair, and he can get us off a lot of hands with the flop check raise there. I think he should probably just continue betting the turn, but he doesn't, and yeah, he decides to wait for the river to put his like bluff in that doesn't make an awful lot of sense. I remember saying at the time, this is like either pocket 4s or we win. And I don't think pocket 4s takes that line very often, and we did indeed win. Okay, 7s. This isn't my usual play. Not very often that I set mine to 3 bets. I guess it's what, like 230 more, so it's 8 blinds more. I will sometimes do this in position, but I'm not one for set mine with pocket pairs. Usually when I get 3 bet, I tend to just muck them unless the 3 bet's too small, or we're going to go multi-way, or like in this case, we have position, and sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't. I guess it depends on what I think about the player at the time, and I don't know if this hand was before or after the previous hand. I don't remember the time having any particular read in this situation. We call, we flop a good shot, he c-bets. I don't think we can fold just yet with our good shot. I think there's too much chance that we just have the best hand here, and if we don't, we have sometimes have the best draw. So I called, we did turn the straight, he goes all in, and I don't think we can fold at this point. You know, we've now got a straight in a 3-bet pot. We only really lose to like flop flushes or like the random queen jacks that he sometimes has. So I call. River probably pretty shit for us, and yeah, kings. I don't hate his line there. I guess he's just said fuck you, I'm committing to it. If you've got like a 7 or whatever, then good for you. I don't like it. I think his line could have been somewhat different, but I don't hate it either. I guess he's just thought fuck you, I'm not bet folding, so I'm just going to put the lot in. I think the problem with that is that he usually, when he does get called in these spots, he's going to be behind a lot. Certainly going to be behind to me. Very rare I'm going to put the money in here with like a worse hand than pocket kings on the turn, on like the 6, 8, 9, 10 flushing boards. But maybe he didn't know that. Don't hate his line, but I think he could have played it better, but whatever. So we have somebody, this donkey guy again. He's open really big under the gun. 8 million callers. We need to squeeze here. I don't like the flat. I don't remember what we did, but I don't like the flat. I think we're just going to have to give up way too much post flop. I'd like to see myself squeeze here, and given how much is already in the pot, I think I'd like to see me make it really quite big. Way upwards of 20 blinds. Maybe not way upwards. But let's, if we go less than 6, I don't like it. 8, 10. Call. 2 callers. Fortunately, we smash it out of the pack. We bet small. Him in raises. We should just jam here, I guess. Yeah, we do. He calls. And we river the nuts. And he was in this pot. Let's just go up to pre-flop here and look at this. He's already called a 5.5 big blind open. We've then 3-bet to 27 big blinds. He's decided to put 27 big blinds in pre-flop with 5-7 suited. Yeah, these games have been good this week. Can't deny that. 2 queens. Open, we should absolutely... Oh, this is a 50NL hand. Yeah, this was a night where we had a pretty good session and we ended up playing some 50NL because 30NL had died, and I just thought, well, let's just dip our toe in the 50NL pool, because maybe the next time we do the streaming, the staking thing, we'll play 50NL rather than 30NL. So I decided to play some 50 here. We go with this really easy squeeze spot. We get a call and a fold from a regular. We flop top set. How interesting. We see bet. He calls. We don't have the nuts anymore. If he's got Jack 10, then more power to him. He's just going to get all of our money. We bet again. He jams. At this point I was thinking, oh fuck, Jack 10. Jack 10 suited. We're fucked, but obviously we're never going to fold top set here. So we obviously flick in the call. We river the full house, and he just overplayed his hand, didn't he? I think pre-flop, the defending it versus a 14 big blind squeeze is kind of slim to begin with. I like defending suited broadways, but I'm not sure I like putting 14 bigs in pre with them. On the flop he has to call. I think the turn jam is, yeah, I get it, it's picked up a little bit of equity, but I think it feels kind of spewy to me. Oh fuck, now we've lost where we were. Get back, get back, get back. Where were we? At 24 hands or something, were we? 27. We've done that one. We've done that one. We've done that right. So yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of spewy, his turn jam, but whatever. Another 50NL hand. A player I didn't know opens. We 3-bet the ace king. We don't need to know somebody to 3-bet ace king. Another player I didn't know cold calls. He then, well, I guess we must have known something about him, because he was like, he's starting the hand half stacked. We have a super easy get it into. Don't remember the hand, but we beat ace jack. So okay, we'll take that. Another 50NL hand. We 3-bet the queens versus another unknown. Lots of unknowns in this pool at the time when I was playing, because it was the first time I played 50NL in a while. Lots of callers, well, 2 callers. We get flop the overpair. I think I prefer to see myself c-bet bigger here. Same argument as earlier. I'm not going to have very many bluffs in a multi-way 3-bet pot. Primarily going to be value hands on this board where there are some draws out there. I think 6 is too small. I'd much prefer to see me go anywhere between like 9 and 11 here. I think would have been much more appropriate. 6 is just too small. Anyway, we get a call from the person in position. 9's not an ideal card, but at this point we've got like what, an SPR of like 1.3 or something. So I mean, I don't hate. We can do a lot of things here. We can just jam, try and monkey rep fucking diamonds and things, get value from his overpairs. I guess we can just bet whatever the effective stack is, 39. I think I'd bet in like something like between 11 to 13 here to try and induce like some loose calls, or just overbet jam. I think of the two sizes. If we make it anything in between that, I don't like it. 14, not in love with it. We kind of just bet half of our stack there. Have we bet half of ours? No, we haven't bet half of ours. We bet like 1/3 of our stack. I think I'd prefer to see that being like 11, 12, 79 than 14, 79, but it is what it is. He calls. Brickish river. By this point we've just got an easy jam, I guess. Why have I checked that? I don't like how I played this hand at all. I think my pre-flop sizing is fine. I think the flop size is too small. Turn size is just kind of a weird size. I don't like how I played this hand at all. Then we check the river, presuming to induce some bluffs, some diamonds, but we have the queen of diamonds, which means he's got less flush draws. Yeah, I don't like how I played this hand at all. I think I butchered this one. He checks back, and he didn't even bluff with his missed flush draw, so shut the fuck up, RegiTime, basically. RegiTime can shut the fuck up. I did. I mean, I'm not against calling myself out. Post flop, I think I played that hand pretty fucking shit. But we all do. Well, none of us geniuses, and that was one of the worst played hands of the session. Worst played hands of the video, I think, for sure. We raise to the ace king, we get 2 callers. We don't get a particularly good flop, but we do have like some good shots, some backdoor straight draws, sorry, and some backdoor flushes and things. Don't hate my check, wouldn't have hated a bet either. Not in love with the check call, but I don't mean we can't just check fold ace king. But if we're going to check call, we may as well just c-bet maybe. Yeah, I think like c-betting's better there with 2 overs plus backdoors. Turn the second nut flush draw. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Raising or calling is going to be fine here. Guess I prefer just calling, maybe against an 80/0 guy who probably won't be that inclined to fold. We river the second note, we check again. Nah, I think this is too passive. I've been taking quite a few passive lines in these games with my weaker stuff. I think we just need to bet this river though, because it's going to check back too often. If he has got a hand like, I don't know, Jack 10 or something without a diamond, he's not going to bet this river very often. He goes all in, we have an easy call. And he just had a whiffed ace king. So our line's got us paid here for sure. But I think it's just too passive. I am quite a passive player in lots of spots. I will do a lot of checking in spots where other people would bet, but I think this is too passive here. Here with the ace 8, we open under the gun. We get 3 callers. We flop the NFD, and we should definitely c-bet here, I think. We do. We turn the nut flush, but on a paired board. I'm not worried about the board pairing, he's only got $15 left. Oh, we bet. He calls. We jam, he calls, and yeah, he had the queens. Not much to see there, really. Relatively tight player opens. I didn't know he's relatively tight, of course, at the time. We only got 42 hands on him. Didn't know anything about him, still don't now, apart from those stats. But we have kings, so we obviously 3-bet. He calls. Pretty standard here. I mean, I guess we should bet the river. Yeah, of course we should. He's only got $8 left. Yeah, more very standard. He top pair, top kicker versus over pair in a 3-bet pot. Nothing to see there, is there? This is the hand from last night. Let's have a puff on the vape. Then I can only explain how I would do it differently had I known stats. Now my vape battery's gone tits up. 3rd one in a row that's gone belly up. Never mind. We'll just carry on without the vape. We've only got 4 hands to go. I'm not sure I would have squeezed it. I think I probably would have still, to be fair. But against a 35/6, squeezing jacks is much less appealing. But at the same time, this guy's called. Yeah, I would have squeezed. Ignore me. I would have definitely squeezed. He now calls. This guy goes all in. I mean, I guess we could have looked at his stack size and made it slightly smaller to reopen the betting to us, but I'm not sure what size we could have made it, really. I don't think I like making it any smaller than 330, so yeah, I don't think it would have changed much there, although it would be nice to have the betting reopened for the times he does do this. For the times he calls and he does this, it's nice now to be able to shut the door on this guy by just putting like a 4th bet in, but we didn't get a chance to do that. What middle set? We have a super easy c-bet in my opinion. I don't mind betting small on like monotone flops. So I don't hate my sizing here when we do give a cheap draw to hearts and things, but We've got monotone flops. We don't really want to be betting very big with like any of our range. He calls. Turn is a 6, and this is like a weird spot now because we've still got like $40 behind, but we do only have an SPR of like 1 point, whatever that is, 1.25 or something, is it? I decided to go with. Again, it's a weirdish bet size. I think I'd rather see me add the. I mean, what we bet there, just over half pot, but just like under half of his stack. I don't like it. I think they're like betting 10 or like going much bigger is appropriate. I don't like my sizing very much at all. I think smaller or bigger is more appropriate there. I guess if we go bigger though, it's like do we just jam? If we jam, what worse hands call? Ace Queen with a heart maybe. Who knows? Well, I don't like my size. I think smaller is going to be better there. I think betting something like 10 or 11 there is going to be better than betting 16. So I don't like my sizing much. He goes all in, we call. And we just set up a set, and this was the beginning of a like disappointing session last night where I think we just dropped 4 buy-ins in pretty short order. It wasn't the beginning of a session. It was the beginning of like quite a sharp downswing. So yeah, he drags a pretty juicy pot. That hand kind of hurt me a little bit because I don't like losing like 150 big blind pots, but I don't think we could have done too much different apart from size down on the turn. I still probably wouldn't have folded, but I'd rather have seen me use a slightly smaller turn size, I guess. 7-6 suited, we raise, we get 3-bet by someone who I didn't know anything about, but it's only a small 3-bet, so we have the easy defend. We flop a gut shot, he checks. We stab with our gut shot, he calls. Turn deuce, he checks. We bet again with our gut shot. At this point I'm just thinking, you know, just try and blast him off. Ace king, ace queen, that type of thing. He calls again. It was a 10, he checks again. And I decided to go with the bluff. I'd prefer to see myself make this bigger. I think sometimes people will still flick calls in here if we bet too small with like ace king, ace queen, that type of thing. I'd prefer to see myself make a bigger bet here. But I guess I would just have lost more because he goes all in. And I don't know what he's doing here that makes sense, you know. Don't really know what value hands he plays in this way. No idea. Still no idea now. I had no idea at the time. I have no idea now what value he has that plays this way. I mean, maybe he's bluffing. The problem is we don't have a hand that can call this bluff. If I had a hand like pocket jacks here, I don't think I would have folded. I think I would have just said, fuck you, you got like spades and shit in your range that can call. I doubt he has too many full houses that play this way. Yeah, so I think if I had jacks here or queens or something, it would be a trivially easy call. As it is, we had 7 high, so we had to fold. Yes, queen, we 3-bet pre-flop versus somebody who I've got tagged as like a loose passive fish. He calls, we flop the ace, we c-bet, he min raises. I think we just call here, then jam over any turn barrel. Turn the queen, he bets, we jam, he calls, and whatever, he just had the king 3. And I remember asking this at the time last night. I think was it a hand run last night? Yeah, it was from my last session. Excuse me. What makes a... Well, this guy's 33.8 here, but he's not. He's like 40/9 or whatever. What makes someone who plays relatively passively, and this guy is passive, he doesn't do an awful lot post-flop. What suddenly makes somebody who's like really loose passive, doesn't make moves, suddenly just decide to open king 3 suited, which it's not his usual line because he's like 40/9 or whatever, so we know he doesn't always open king 3 suited from like the cutoff. So what makes him open king 3 suited, not the cutoff, the hijack even, not a chance this is part of his normal strategy. So what makes him open king 3 suited, what makes him defend it to a 3-bet, and then what makes him just go crazy with bottom pair post flop. I mean, this is totally out of character with this guy because his stats and what I know about him. I know he doesn't do this all the time. He's just a loose passive calling station. So what do you think? I don't know the answer. Maybe he's just like got stacked in a pot or something. I don't know. But what makes a loose passive guy just set myself on fire here and just set his money on fire? I don't know. Answers on a postcard, please. Last hand of the night, last hand of the video, sorry. We 3-bet kings. Get called by... I didn't know that this guy was this. I mean, he could have been anything. Could have been regular, could have been a fish, I don't know. He had over 100 blinds, so I wouldn't have thought it was a fish straight away. There's my fucking alarm clock going off that I don't need. So yeah, unknown, cold calls on the button. Excuse me. Pretty wet flop. I go for a reasonable size c-bet. He automatically jams. We have a super trivial call. He calls, and this was just like one of the last hands from last night's session, where it was one of those sessions last night where we had got in coolers. Well, we got in 2 big coolers. There was this one for like a full stack. There was the Jacks versus Queens for 150 bigs, and maybe a couple of the other hands we've reviewed come from last night's session too. But yeah, we just, what can we do? We got an overpay in a 3-bet pot. With c-bet, someone's jammed on a board that's, he can certainly be jamming worse hands there, flush draws, like jacks, tens, things like that. No way we can fold. Yeah, whatever, we just got cooled off. So this is, since the last video, we played 5,000 more hands in 4 days. We've still been winning at 10, but even though we dropped 4 buy-ins last night, we've still got like a super healthy win rate. I'm not going to look too much into my stats because it's 5,000 hands. The graph was looking pretty sick until last night. So we're doing well, and then we just literally dropped 4 buy-ins in 400 hands. It was a bit of a pisser, not going to lie. It's quite annoying, but these things happen. And then this is now, we've done 8 streams on this 14 stream staking thing, and it's looking pretty good. Again, apart from that sharp downswing, that does spoil the shape of the graph somewhat, but these things happen. So this is like how we're doing overall. So for 11,000 hands, we are up 460. We're like running above EV, but even if we're not, 10 bigs 100. I mean, I'm not sure that's where my win rate would be, but I'd be very surprised if my win rate in these games was less than 7. So yeah, really pleased with how it's going. Even if it was down to 7, we'll still be making like at minimum $15 an hour. I think if I play these games all the time, which is something I might start doing actually, I think $15 an hour is maybe possible. Certainly like $12 an hour is absolutely possible. So yeah, that's that. We can look at position for the first time, I guess. Now we've got 11,000 hands in, see how we're doing by position. These win rates in the blinds, again, my win rates in the blinds are always, in my opinion, really good. I get criticised for being a fucking nit, not 3-betting enough, not doing this, not doing that. I mean, historically, over hundreds of thousands, maybe even like millions of hands now, my win rates in the blinds are as good as anybody has seen. That minus 26 is a bit low for me. Normally it's around minus 20, minus 18, but again, sample size. But I think my results out of the blinds in terms of big blinds per 100 versus my peers in the games I play, they'll be in the top 1% without any doubt. My results in the blinds, people criticise my play from the blinds a lot. I've got all kinds of criticism in the past, not 3-betting enough, overfolding to steals and things, but I think it's unquestionable my results from the blinds. Now you might question the quality of my play, but my results from the blinds will very easily be in like the top like 1 or 2% of the entire field, which I think speaks volumes for my strategy from the blinds. And I've not really gone on my way to defend myself against these like accusations that I'm too weak and too tight and what have you, because I just can't be asked to. I prefer to let my numbers talk about that. And yeah, most of the guys who criticise me probably have much worse results in the blinds than I do. So there we go. That's by position. Here's the 8 sessions. We booked 2 losing sessions. We had 2 crushing sessions here with the 195 and the 196. Then last night kind of like wiped out the night before. But overall, I mean, how can we complain? We're crushing. We're really crushing at the moment. It's annoying when we have like a -4 buy-in session, but fuck me, it happens. It's poker. One of those nights where we were slightly maybe more passive than usual. Maybe just a product of the hand you were getting. And I went to showdown was significantly lower, so that tells me that it's one of those sessions where nothing much good happened for us. And we actually, only the second time, the 2 sessions we've lost in, And the 2 times we've had like a 1 at showdown of less than 50%, which is something someone asked me in the stream last night, like what's good went to showdown and 1 at showdown numbers. And I've said, and I've said this for years, anything between like 25 to 30 went to showdowns fine, depending on that the games you're playing in. If you're playing on Sky or you're playing in softer games, your went to showdown is going to be higher because people just fold less. And your $1 at showdown should always be over 50% in my opinion, or you should be aiming to it to be over 50%. And the 2 we've lost, we've had like below 50% both times. I'm not at all surprised by that. But yeah, it's really, really pleased with how it's going. There's probably only going to be 1 more of these videos, maybe 2. Maybe I'll do like 3 sessions, do another one, 3 sessions. I think 4 sessions is maybe too long. 33 hands is a lot. So yeah, maybe 2 more of these. We'll maybe do 1 more after another 3 sessions, and then wrap up the stake with like the last 3 sessions, and then we can take an overall view on how we've done. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. The first one got some pretty nice feedback. Hope this one does too. It's gone on for an hour, which I wasn't really expecting it to go that long, but we have reviewed 33 hands. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and we'll be back sometime next week with the next similar video. Bye bye for now.